Good morning, everybody, and happy Monday. I hope everybody had an absolutely great weekend and had a ton of great things that went on. I know the weather's been pretty great around the country as far as it goes. I know it's 75 and sunny here. Had the chance to go see the desert, look at the super bloom. Didn't really think that through too much. Completely covered in sunburn because desert, really sunny. So just one of those weekends. So today we are talking about the all-important fact-finding, investigation, however part of your sales process you want to call it. Any sales process on selling any product will have this exact thing that goes on. But it's kind of about how do we set up fact-finding? How do we set up investigation? How do we make sure we're going to find out what we need to solve the client's problems, right? Isn't that the whole point behind health insurance? Especially in health insurance sales, we are solution selling. We need to figure out effectively what the problem is for us to be able to match it. I know with things that are going on, especially with 4/1 being around the corner so quick, really trying to figure out how do we figure out who needs a fixed benefit? How do we know who needs those limited medical policies? So we'll be talking a bit about that today. A little bit about my history. I think everybody here should know that I used to work at Assurant Health, the leader in the fixed benefit with the Assurant Health Access product there. Helped run a call center that sold the health access product like nobody's business. So I'll tell you, this is pretty easy to me, pretty close to my heart. If you need any help ever pitching one of those fixed benefit policies, let me know. So today we'll start with a pretty good Shane Gibson quote, always be closing. That doesn't mean you're always closing the deal, but it does mean that you need to be always closing on the next step in the process. So that's kind of what we're looking at. We originally looked at last week how to do a great introduction. If you didn't get a chance to see that video, it should be uploaded at ahcpsales.com. And what you're doing at the end of the introduction is you're actually letting your client know, hey, what I'll be doing is asking you some questions. I'll be then presenting you a plan, and then I'll be asking for your credit card information. So it's always closing on what the next step of the process is. What we do in fact finding is we're actually going to be asking questions and setting up the next step in the process. So this will be kind of leading the client to what you're thinking is going to be the best fit for them and letting them know what I'll be doing, talking to you about this is I'll actually be matching every issue you have the best I can and making sure that there's a solution for what you need. So that's what we'll be talking about today. So happy Motivation Monday, everyone. There's a few new people here on the call today, and I'll let you know this is what our process usually is. We're going to go through a tip of the week. Then we'll be taking a look at what our sales trends are. Then we'll look at who the sales leaders are. And at the end, we're going to look at the sales technique, which is really going to be doing how do you effectively fact find. Last week, the tip of the week, and it's actually for later today, it's about the Emeritus. It is a really, really great dental company. We have Security Life Dental there with Brian Durham. He will be presenting. They were bought by Emeritus, so kind of going through any changes in their plans. The webinar is for today at 1 o'clock. So take a look at the calendar. I think it's 1 o'clock Pacific. Take a look at the calendar, sign up for it. I know the spots are limited and they were filling up really quick this weekend. So take a look at that. I'm a huge fan of Security Life. Their products are one of the very few products that actually pay right away with major services. They start paying at 10% right away. Jump in. ahcpsales.com/training. Today's tip of the week is kind of an interesting one. It's about something that we do sell a bit about. If we can get it up there on the screen. It's about Colorado Bankers Life. We've been selling a lot of Colorado's Bankers Life. I've had a few people reach out to me asking about that NatGen critical illness versus the Colorado's Bankers Life. Colorado Bankers Life is one of the best critical illness policies out there in the industry, also one of the highest paying commissions. We sell a ton of it. I'll tell you, out of our critical illness sales, about 80% of those are CBL. If it's a company you are not appointed with, I highly recommend doing it. It's a really quick appointment process, takes about 2 or 3 days. And keep in mind, these are lump sum benefits. This one also comes with a 10-year renewable and convertible level term life insurance policy, and that is renewable to age 70. And it has a huge list of different critical illness benefits that it pays out in as well. It is one of the few that has the terminal illness payout as far as it goes with critical illness. So it has a generic terminal illness payout. Most of them are very specific. This is a very generous critical illness policy. does have a 30-day wait after the policy is purchased, and then a 2-year wait on suicide rider there. So pretty great CI product. If you are not appointed with it, please contact agency services, get up and running with CBL. It's a great way to make commissions outside of open enrollment. It's a really good product to help your client with what they need. Taking a look at what our trends are this week. Trends for last week, we had a slight decrease in short-term medical. Not super surprising considering the week before we had a record-breaking week outside of open enrollment. So yeah, we're sliding down to completely normal, which is healthy there. We had an increase, as always now, in fixed benefit sales, really leading with VBA. I know we have some agents who are a huge fan of that new NatGen Foundation Health, but VBA is kind of one of those fixed benefit policies that is tried and true. We had a decrease in accident sales, so just a slight decrease, and I mean really slight, with actually the state of Oregon completely kicking up with the AME sales. So if you are licensed in Oregon, the AMEs there, or accident medical expenses run by NatGen, huge uptick in sales, a large increase in critical illness, which what brought the CBL to mind. If you, again, not contracted, take a look at it. They were about 85 to 90% of last week's critical illness sales. And then, of course, we had an increase in dental. The big ones that are leading there is the NatGen PPO dental. That one has been taking over almost all of our dental sales. And then also Golden Rule. But keep in mind, we do have the Emeritus webinar today. Kind of plugging that one a bit because I think we only have about 30 spots left into it. But you're going to learn a ton from it, and it's a really great product that pays awesome commission and pays out to your clients pretty quick. If you guys don't know, one of my big soapbox things here is that dental will help increase retention. Yes, it's not going to increase your paycheck by crazy amounts, but what it will do is it will have your clients keep the policies. The nice thing about the dental, the accident, the critical illness is that really they're portable. With these short-term policies, only being able to be 90 days, after those are done, your clients can keep the accident policy, they can keep the critical illness, and they can keep the dental when they go on to whatever insurance they're going to, be it an employer or another short-term or a fixed benefit. That's why we talk about it, because if you have a dental mixed with an accident, that's going to increase their chances of actually keeping it and making it portable. So taking a look at the sales shoutouts for the week, we had Wendy Larson taking first for short-term medical, so everything there in gold. Wendy, congratulations, leading with National General, their short-term medical. We had Andrew Orlikoff taking there in silver, so second place, leading with National General and a Golden Rule mix, and as interesting as it is, Jacob Gordon in third with Golden Rule, so kind of the mix between the NatGen and the Golden Rules. So good job, you three, good job, Wendy, leading the pack there. For our limited medical shout-outs, we had Katia Santamaria. Again, I think that's about the fourth week in a row, leading with limited benefit there, the limited medical policies. Again, she is selling more of the NatGen fixed benefit than Wendy did with the short-term medicals. She is absolutely phenomenal at that, and she actually, good job, Katia, on doing a mix between NatGen and HII. Robert took second place here with VBA, and then Wendy, we're not, your name can't not be on the screen, right? They're in third with NatGen, their limited benefit policies. Pretty strong sales in those. Keep in mind, these are one of the few policies that can actually be kept now, with short terms only being limited to 90 days. These are the policies that can be kept till the end of the year. Okay, and now to get into our sales technique this morning. If you don't know, these are pretty quick, power-packed webinars where we try to get you off the phone in about 20-30 minutes and get you what you need for the week. So what we were talking about last week as far as it goes was that introduction. So the introduction, kind of a quick overview there. So it's going to be the introduction of who you are, why you are calling, and then what's in it for the client. And then kind of like the quote of the morning, moving into what the process are. Again, if you haven't heard the ideas behind it, jump into the training library, go through that. Kind of what the introduction sounds like, if you didn't hear last week, would be something like, hey, it's John there, thanks for taking my call. It's Steve, I'm a health insurance agent here at AHCP. Giving you a call because you requested to be contacted about health insurance. What I do here is save my client on average about 15% on their health insurance. Does that sound good to you? Great, it does. Well, John, what I do here is I'll ask you a few questions about your health insurance needs, Together we can customize a plan that best suits your needs, and from there we can make any changes. But as long as you like what you hear, we're going to go ahead and get you applied for that today. What you can hear by what I did there is I actually set up saying, what I'll do is I'll be talking to you. We're going to be digging more into your personal situation. I know a lot of things that agents are concerned about is I'm going to be talking to a client about their needs, but they're going to get defensive. Completely not. You're a professional, you are licensed, they will work with you. So here, we're going to be jumping into the fact finding, kind of going in depth about that. So your client, what you're doing is you are trying to figure out what the heck is their actual problem, right? And yeah, it's a game. Your clients are going to spend some time, telling you what they think the problem is. People are used to, with health insurance, us being the enemy, us being the hard ones, them having to lie to us so they can actually get insurance. And we know the whole ACA thing happened, and that kind of went away. But people are lost and confused again. Again, they're lost and confused. It's great for us. Them not knowing about the whole changes in the short-term market and how hard it is to get a major medical insurance and how much they cost and why they should get limited medical, this is where we need to actually spend most of our time. If you take a breakdown of the 4 steps of an effective sales process, be it in the introduction, the fact-finding, the presentation, and the close, when I pull rooms and I ask, where do you think you should spend most of your time? Everybody says the close. They say, probably about 60% of your time, or at least half of your time should be spent closing. I'm like, great, that's a good process, but no. If you are waiting to solve their problems to the very last step, your close rate's probably pathetic. We need to spend most of our time, honestly, in fact finding. This is the part, if you take a look at a sales funnel, right, it's going to open up at the top, close at the bottom. This is the part where you spend most of your time because this is where you're going to start getting the client to talk, putting down their walls, being able to dig in, joking around, making that connection. All sales processes have to have that personal connection. This is where it will happen. My personal opinion, about 70% of your time will be spent here. If you are sitting there honestly doing the best planned presentation ever, but guess what, you didn't listen to what your client needs, you're wasting both you and your client's time. But if you spend the time here digging in, getting some descriptions, you should be pretty good on there. An interesting description I found of fact-finding that I've read is, a prescription without a diagnosis is malpractice. That is the exact same thing in sales without fact-finding. If you're not sitting there actually figuring out what they need, that's basically malpractice. So it's the most important part. You're actually helping lead the client, and I know we hate that term leading, but what you're doing is you're making sure that the questions you ask are going to start moving their mind into the best direction. You have so many products, you're so educated, you know what's going on out there. They don't, right? You need to actually be able to listen. One of the things here is that the client actually does have to do most of the talking. One of the things we say is that, we like to talk. We're very social creatures. We can't talk over the client. We have to listen. Effective fact-finding is actually listening as well. Because we are so knowledgeable, we just want to tell the client everything. We want to vomit the information out on them. No, we need to let them talk. This call is actually their soapbox to complain. As funny as that is, that's where we need to let them complain. And because I said, hey, this is 70% of the time, you're thinking, how is this 70% of the time? There's no way. Well, we need to ask open-ended questions. Sales funnel. Let's go back to the funnel mindset, okay? Introduction is just a quick 30-second blurb. This is where we're going to start letting them talk. How the sales process works is in fact-finding, I'm going to ask open-ended questions, getting their opinion, letting them express. I want them to tell me stories. Then when I start doing the plan presentation, I'm going to start narrowing down my type of questions into more close-ended, meaning yes or no. So that the time that I'm actually going through and filling out the application with them, they're used to just giving me yes answers so I can make the process go quicker. Little psychology going on there. So with this fact-finding, keep in mind when we are looking at these questions, they need to be open-ended. We need to get them talking. Another thing too is when you are sitting there asking them questions, never just look for one response. You want to dig in and you want them to say just a bit more, so that way they feel like you're having the conversation with them. So let's jump into the actual questions here with fact-finding. We're going to talk about how we can use them. So fact-finding, honestly, is really, I break it down into 5 different parts, okay? So there's 5 main areas, main things. These are the things that you need to know. I'm not saying, hey, these are the only 5 questions you're going to talk about. No. These are the 5 main things that you need to know to effectively pick a policy for your client. So we need to know what their current insurance situation is. We'll talk about the reason for the call, their plan usage, which is obviously the biggest one, the budget and the start date, right? The bottom 3 there, you need to know, because if they say, you know what, all I'm doing is I'm just calling because I want a policy to start next year, you know, I'm looking for 2018, we all get those calls, waste of your time, right? We can put them on part of our email marketing campaigns and keep in touch with them, but that's not somebody who I'm going to spend a ton of time with right now, okay? If at any point during fact finding, one of the reasons why we're digging here for so much information is that your client's expectations become unreasonable, like they want everything paid for $1 for the policy, and it should be backdated to a few months ago when, you know, they wound up getting hurt. This is when we get to stop and have that hard conversation, right? I know as a sales agent, I love to overcome objections. I've been to 100 overcoming objections, different seminars, different techniques, read the books. I have the biggest gloves to hit people over the head with all the overcoming objections techniques that I know. If I do fact finding right, I don't have to worry about that. I'm going to approach everything. And so if they sit there and they come at me with these unrealistic expectations, I can stop and be like, hey, Steve, you know, I know that is what you're looking for, but I'll tell you with everything I know in the marketplace, you know, I'm sitting here, I'm appointed with 25 different companies. You're not going to find a policy like that. More realistically, you may be looking to pay something around this, or your benefits, you know, you want a $3 copay. That's not really realistic. I know I have policies where I can get you a $50 copay, but that's going to be pretty much the best you're going to find right now. This is where you get to have those hard talks. You kind of get to feel like a parent a little bit. Okay, so with all this, you need to figure out first off, what is their current insurance situation? This helps first determine what you can sell, obviously. Do they have a special enrollment period, right? Did they just unfortunately lose their job? So what is their current insurance situation? Yeah, this one's gonna be kind of short, right? Because you can dig into it a little bit, you know, maybe they're on a short-term medical and they, you know, so what's your current insurance situation? Well, I'm on a short-term medical policy and I want it to end. Great, that's a great conversation starter. Why? What is it about that they hate? Why are they picking up the phone? What the heck is actually going on? It really honestly is going to lead you into the second one, right? Here's kind of a trick. If the second part is the reason for the call, so current insurance situation, kind of short and sweet. What the heck do you have right now, right? What can I actually possibly sell you? Do you have a short-term medical and do you not want to lose it and you're just trying to find something to help pay on top of that? Because you know, in a lot of short-term medicals, you can't have 2 of them at once. With that is going to really be the reason for the call. That will set it up. If they currently have an insurance call, you're going to ask more about, you know, so you picked up the phone and gave me a call, what the heck, why? If they're uninsured, I really want to kind of them to start out a little negative. It sounds kind of weird, right? So it's going to be really, okay, so, you know, Steve, you're giving me a call here. So what is it about all those other insurance plans that you've looked at that you do not like, just so I don't make the same mistakes? Kind of weird, but you're actually saying, hey, I know you've been shopping, because a lot of people lie. They feel like you're dating, you know, because we always talk about dating your lead. They're going to say, you know, oh no, you're my first, you're the first person I've ever really talked to about this. That's a lie. You've probably Googled it. You probably looked. There's probably something you didn't like online, and that's the reason why you didn't buy online. So it's really, what about those that you've been looking at do you not like? That way you can kind of get them talking, being like, hey, you know what? Let's be completely transparent. I know you've been kind of, I guess, seeing somebody else's, maybe a way to put it. What about that do you not like? I just don't want to make the same mistake. That's really what you're trying to get the reason for their call is. You want them to list off all the negatives about other policies they've looked at. That way you can go through and make sure you're not going to do it. Use that line, honestly do. What is it about those other insurance plans that you've looked at that you do not like, just so I don't make the same mistake? Because then you're not saying, hey, why'd you pick up the phone and call me? It's a little smoother. So the next part, the plan usage. This is the step where you're going to spend a lot of time. This is when you start digging in. But you don't want to sound like a detective, because honestly, your client's going to get defensive. My big things with the plan usage that I try to look at, first off, I want to talk about prescriptions, right? So hey, anyone who's going to be on this insurance package, do they take any prescription medications, not including things for colds and flus? Obviously, this is going to start determining maybe what short term is going to be best. If they need something that's going to have a lot of prescription coverage, if you're going to find out also maybe potentially what conditions they're on, this is when you have to kind of break it down saying, you know, I can find things to help you with that, but if I don't know what those prescriptions are, I can't help you at all. Another one is doctor's office visits. So how many times a year do they go to the doctor on average? Honestly, with this one, I just want a number. If they want to tell me the stories, I'm going to let them. It depends how busy my day is. How many times do they go to the doctor? And it's for everybody on the policy. I can't tell you how many times I try to bring up this question, and it's just the mom thinks about herself, which I know sounds horrible, hear me out, but it's everybody on the policy. You know, how much time does she? How much time does the baby? How much time does the father? I want to know that. And this is my personal favorite, especially if we are going to be selling limited medical. We need to know this one because this is going to say what kind of supplements I need to throw on. So it's really going to be how many times in the past 10 years have you had over $1,000 in medical bills? Also, you want to hear a story here because you're going to want to be able to tell them a story about how the plan is going to work using something from their history. Only have them think back 10 years because if they tell you about when they're 2 years old and they had an appendectomy or something weird, you don't care. You want to hear about $1,000 in medical bills in the past 10 years. This will help you figure out the ancillary products, and hey, maybe this is going to tell you a fixed benefit might not be the best policy. Also, if there's anything scheduled in the future. Okay, so if they have any major surgeries or appointments scheduled, it happens all the time, right? You're on the phone, they're saying, you know, I'm going to be having my gallbladder taken out and I need something to pay for that. There we go. We had that conversation. We can figure it out. Plan usage is extremely important because if they're on a lot of prescriptions, so they have a chronic condition, they visit the doctor all the time, they hit their medical bills every year, and they have something scheduled for next month, guess what? A short-term medical or a fixed benefit is going to be a horrible idea. The things that I try to listen for when I'm trying to determine should I be selling them a fixed benefit or a short-term medical, I divide it really into two categories. My fixed benefit, my limited medical, I try to listen to somebody who's just going to be using it for everyday expenses. You know, someone who they don't go to the doctor a lot. They don't really have a lot of those pre-existing conditions. If they go to the doctor, yeah, maybe they've gone for a cold or flu once or twice in the past 10 years. You know, they just want access to a doctor. That's a pretty big one. These limited medical policies, a lot of them use that multi-plan network. They're going to get a hard insurance card. Your client's going to actually get access of going to a doctor. That's pretty important. Those that are looking for a long-term solution, keep in mind, we have about 11 days to write policies that can, short-term medical policies that will last to the end of the year. 11 days. It's not that much time. Limited medical are now going to be the long-term solution for your client. So if your client is not calling up saying, hey, I need a short-term quick fix, they say short-term quick fix, great. That short-term might be a good actual solution because short-term medical are now actually going to be living by their name, short-term medical. Now these limited medical fixed indemnity policies, they are for a long-term solution. Also, I try to find out maybe there's a lot of people to cover and they really have a small budget. I know we don't really sell by a dollar amount, but I can't pitch you a policy that's $2,000 when your budget's $200. I need to keep everything in a realistic context for you. So if they have multiple people on the policy, you know what they can do? We want multiple people, small budget, limited medical might be the best. And then again, if they've only had a few years over $1,000, that's fine. This might be a great fit. But if they've consistently hit over $1,000 in medical bills every year, you may have to look at adding a lot of supplements on there. You may have to take a look at making sure that they have that accident policy, because that's usually how they hit the $1,000, and that critical illness. Now, for me to hear a short-term medical or maybe major medical, the biggest thing that I want to I will hear from my clients is they're worried about the big what if. Their sister went bankrupt, their brother went bankrupt, their father had to sell the house due to medical bills. I want to make sure that they're going to be protected for that, right? Someone who has no idea how insurance works and they are completely beyond lost. You know, they're just wandering through the field and not a clue what the heck is happening. A major short-term was probably a really good fit for them. Someone who has a chronic condition, yes, short-term excludes pre-existing, but we can get them a GI short-term. If they have a serious chronic condition, obviously we shoot for major medical, or if they hit their $1,000 in medical bills every year. That is going to be my short-term client. Your fixed benefit limited medical clients, you need to change our mindsets too. These are people who want everyday help, people who just want to go to the doctor, people who don't hit their $1,000, they don't use a ton of medical expenses. Those are our good fixed benefit clients. That's about 70% of our call. And then with our short-term medical clients here, those are going to be the ones who, yeah, I use it all the time. I fall down the stairs. I'm a huge klutz. I don't know what the heck is going on in my life. I'm lost. That's going to be the kind of the differences. So when you're listening there for the plan usage, that's what you should kind of be listening for. Also, when you're responding back to the client, because what I like to do is as I'm going through these 5, I like to listen to them. So I call it hearing it out. I feed it back and I double check, right? So I'll ask them, so how many times in the past 10 years have you had $1,000 in medical bills? They're like, oh, 3. Okay, so you've only had it 3 times in the past 10 years then, is that right? Yep. Sounds like I'm having a conversation, or to me, I feel like a broken parrot. But that's going to give them a chance to think about it and go back to you. Because you know how many times I'll tell you when I say that kind of thing, their answer will change. So I hear it out, I feed it back, and I clarify it to them. Do that. Hear it out, feed it back, clarify on every step. You should do it. If you take a look, there are 5 main things. You should hear it out, feed it back, clarify 5 times during that conversation. With the budget as well, here's a big part. We need to figure out the budget. Like I said, if their budget is $200 and I have a $2,000 policy, we are not going to be friends. So if I could get you the best healthcare package I could get you the best healthcare package in the world, but if I haven't kept it affordable, I haven't helped you, right? So what is your affordable monthly budget range? I will not move on unless I get a dollar amount. And yes, we've all have worked with those people who are like, well, just give me the cheapest package you have possible. I have a dental policy for $12. Is that what you're looking for? No. I need to figure out what your realistic budget is so I can get you the best policy that I have on the books here. So I don't move on until I get a dollar amount. I will not move on until I get a dollar amount. And then of course I want to know what their start date is, right? And that's just a nice happy wrap-up question. Everybody knows what the start date is. Just double check what it's going on. So what I'm going to do after I go through all of these questions is I'm actually going to do what's called a summation statement. So I'm going to summarize everything that we went through. So I usually do something like, so great, before we get into the package, I just want to make sure you and I are on the same page. Even though I've heard it out, fed it back the whole time, this is their last chance to stop you before you rock the plan presentation and ask for their credit card information. So we're looking for insurance today because, and then I reiterate the reason for their call, right? So to me, it sounds like you are looking for a plan that will, and then I'm going to fix their pain point, right? That's going to get started at this date, that will have these benefits, and I'm going to keep it below this budget. Is that right? Is that the type of policy you are looking for? That is actually my close. How funny is that? I'm doing my close halfway through my presentation, right? I didn't even present them the plan. I know I have the policy. I'm saying, hey, everything that you told me, if I match everything that we've done, you will apply for that plan today, right? And that's where I get my yes. Everybody needs a yes for a close. Mine's halfway through my presentation. It makes my close so much easier because I can roll into it. I said, hey, if I match all your pain points, that's exactly what we're going to do. And they say yes. Pretty powerful. Pretty easy to do too, honestly. If closing is something that you dread and you know your heart gets racing really, really hard, try this type of sales technique. If you get the close halfway through, guess what? Then that's going to make the end that much easier. I do this, I summarize everything I'm going through and I get the double check that yes, this is the policy they're looking for because I need to make sure I'm not missing anything. If I'm missing anything, I need to jump back in and then I will re-summarize everything I went over again. And if I miss it, I will re-summarize again. I need to make sure here at the end of my fact findings that I get my solid yes. Because this will say, you did everything right. This is exactly what I want. I was calling you with this pain point. I need my policy to start in a few days. I have $200 to pay for it. We need to get this moving. That's all that's going on. I'm creating a close in the middle of my presentation. So if you have any questions on this or anything anything you want me to make sure I'm going to cover next week on the next Monday, please reach out to training@ahcpsales.com. You can say, hey, Trainer Dan, I have some questions for you. If you're looking at getting contracted, maybe with Emeritus, maybe with Colorado Bankers Life, call Agency Services. That is what they're there for. We are here to help. We want to make you as successful as possible. And I thought we would end today with a pretty good quote there, if I can get it up on the screen. So you were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win. That is this whole sales process. We are setting it up. We are digging into fact finding so we can plan to win. We are preparing by knowing what policies we have out there, and we are going to expect to win because guess what? We did our close halfway through. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or if you need any help, please reach out to training@ahcpsales.com. This will be posted probably on Wednesday, will be my guess, in our training section. So you can go through and rewatch this if you want, because I see I have a few questions popping up saying they missed the first few minutes. Don't worry, this will be presented online. But I hope everybody has a great Monday. Our half hour is done. And if you need anything, reach out to training@ahcpsales.com.